Well, things are getting very interesting because just days ago, we learned that Russia was testing nuclear capable missiles. And then President Trump said just the other day that he has ordered the Pentagon to start testing nuclear weapons. The United States has not done this since 1992. It's been 30 years. And yet, President Trump wants to start. Look at this. It says Trump tells Pentagon to resume testing U.S. nuclear weapons. Well, that's bringing up a whole host of new questions. Where is the testing going to happen? Who is going to conduct this testing? How is this going to impact not just the land, but all of the tensions across the world? What does this mean to the United States? Well, first, let's read what President Trump had to say. Look at this. It says, the United States has more nuclear weapons than any other country. This was accomplished, including a complete update and renovation of existing weapons during my first term in office. Because of the tremendous destructive power, I hated to do it, but had no choice. Russia is second, and China is a distant third, but will be even within 5 years. Because of other countries' testing programs, I have instructed the Department of War to start testing our nuclear weapons on an equal basis. That's key, equal basis. That process will begin immediately. Thank you for your attention to the matter, President Donald J. Trump. Now, here's where things are interesting. First off, according to reports, the United States is not first when it comes to nuclear weapons. It depends on how you count. Technically, it's Russia. Russia has more. But I want to play a couple clips for you. Listen to some of these, because what the people are saying is going to give us a very good indication of where the testing is going to occur, why it's happening at this time, and it actually doesn't have anything to do with Russia and China directly. It's actually a different country that is allies with those two. Listen to this.
When you see this news, what's the significance of the U.S. picking up its nuclear testing once more?
Well, Austin, this is a huge shift in U.S. policy. We haven't tested a nuclear weapon in the United States since 1992. You may recall in the early 60s, all above ground testing worldwide was stopped because those massive nuclear explosions, which are encapsulated in video and film, I should say, that we see in movies and certainly newsreels and stuff. Well, it was pushing out a ton of radioactive material into the atmosphere and causing major health effects. So by international treaty, that was stopped, but there was still underground testing. Now, all the other major nations have stopped doing it. Russia doesn't do it. The U.S. doesn't do it. However, North Korea has been doing it. And
that's the key right there. North Korea has been doing it. Guess who North Korea has been helping? Russia. Helping China. This is not something the United States wants to be behind in. This, according to reports, is why President Trump is adamant that the Department of War needs to get on this immediately. Let's keep listening to this.
North Korea has been threatening off and on to resume their nuclear testing, which is also underground. This would be a major change. My question that immediately comes to mind is, where are they planning on doing it? The previous tests were all done in Nevada. It's an area that's not too far from Las Vegas, but that area has been basically shuttered as far as being an active nuclear testing area, obviously for over 3 decades. And I don't know if we'd want to do nuclear testing there. There's issues that we're discovering with the water table and other environmental impacts. So it's an interesting policy, but it brings up not just a question of why and what it'll mean, but how and what will the impact or consequences of those tests incur.
Okay. So right there, first off, it could potentially be, I think it's like 40 miles or something outside of Nevada. I believe it's north or outside of Las Vegas, Nevada. I believe it's north of Las Vegas where they used to do this. I don't know. Again, it could be another place other than that, but again, we just don't know at this time. But I want to play another clip for you. Okay, listen to this right here. Listen to what this person has to say.
So we've been scratching our head all day to try to understand what President Trump means. Russia and China do not test nuclear weapons. The nominee to be the U.S. Commander of Strategic Command testified to that today. And so if we're going to test on an equal basis, we're already doing that by not testing.
So he's saying that we're already testing on an equal basis because they don't test, so we don't test. Now, what President Trump said, though, okay, I want to go back to this. Okay, right here. It says, but it had no choice. Russia is second and China is a distant third, but will be even within 5 years because of other countries' testing programs. I've instructed the Department of War to start testing our nuclear weapons on an equal basis. But here's the thing. Is he just going off of what Russia is doing and what China is doing? Or is he going off of what every country is doing? Again, North Korea specifically. That we don't know. Let's keep listening to this clip, though.
If the U.S. were to resume testing explosively nuclear weapons, it would happen in Nevada at the Nevada National Security Site, about 45 minutes north of Las Vegas. The U.S. conducted about 1,000 nuclear tests all over the country, but mostly in Nevada. And it would take short of 2 or 3 years to do an actual full-up test in a way that benefited American designs and security.
That right there, it would take about 2 years to do a full test. That is why it's concerning, is that we have put a stop to this. And again, he's saying that there are health concerns. Okay, there's health concerns. That's a huge problem because not only are environmental groups going to push back on this, others are going to do the same thing as well. So that's a potential problem. Here's the concern, though. If the United States doesn't resume testing, okay, then we could fall behind. But again, the United States has been doing testing, but it's underground. Okay, it's not above ground. You don't see it. But what I believe this is a guy that says something in just a moment that is extremely important. Listen to this.
But it could happen much shorter if the idea was just to demonstrate that our nuclear weapons still can detonate.
That right there. That it could be much shorter if all the United States is trying to do is show that our nuclear weapons will detonate. That's it. It's just for show. Okay? Because again, the United States doesn't want to go to a nuclear war with any country. Not Russia, not North Korea, not Iran, not China, okay? Not Venezuela. The United States, we do not want to go nuclear. That's the last thing any country wants. That is something that we always will hold over someone's head like, hey, we have these weapons, you might not want to mess with us. But again, if all the other countries are starting to catch up, the United States has to do more to get ahead. That's where we're at. But as this is happening, look at this. Vladimir Putin says Russia will stick to nuclear arms limit for 1 more year. Okay? This was back what he said in September. Okay? I want to read this to you. This is over a month ago. It says, Vladimir Putin said Monday that Moscow would adhere to nuclear arms limits for one more year under the last remaining nuclear pact with the United States that expires in February, and he urged Washington to follow suit. Putin said that the termination of the 2010 New START would have negative consequences for global stability and could fuel proliferation of nuclear weapons. Yeah, that's what he said back in September. The reason why this is such a big deal is because, keep in mind, President Trump and Vladimir Putin met in Alaska. This was back in August, I think August 15th. So a month before, President Putin said that he would stick to a 1-year extension of the 2010 New START Act. Now, the reason why this is the New START Treaty, the reason why this is so big is because of what this limits countries and allows them to do. Look at this. It says the New START, signed by then U.S. President Barack Obama and the Russian counterpart Dmitry Medvedev, limits each country to no more than 1,550 deployed nuclear warheads and 700 deployed missiles and bombers. That's the limit. The concern is that Russia could potentially be playing the United States, saying that yes, they would like to extend this, but at the same time, when the United States believes that Russia is planning to extend this and doesn't want any more than 1,550 deployed nuclear weapons and 700 deployed missiles and bombers, well, is this true? That we don't know. This is why the United States is on high alert. But look at this. It says Russia is on guard after Trump calls to resume nuclear weapons testing. According to reports, there's a very good chance that what we see over the next several weeks, not days, not months, weeks, is we're likely to see Russia is going to test more nuclear weapons. Okay? I don't know if this is going to turn into anything, but it's concerning to say the least, not just for the United States, but for Russia as well and the rest of the world. Because if Russia and the United States are trying to posture and get ahead of the other, the rest of the world could be doing the exact same thing. Keep that in mind. But just so you know, J.D. Vance does back this. He likes the idea. It says J.D. Vance backs Trump's nuclear test order as Russia warns of chaos. I'm here to tell you, Russia is not one that we want to mess with because Russia has not gotten their way with Ukraine. The main reason why is because the United States and NATO and Russia has put in the full responsibility and the full burden on the United States, saying it's your fault why more and more Ukrainians continue to lose their lives. So we'll see what happens, but I just wanted to share this with you because this right here is turning into a massive story that we need to be watching as it progresses. So the one thing I can promise you is as soon as we get more updates on this, I will bring you all the latest news and updates as soon as we get them. But again, thank you guys for watching. Consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the next one.